Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Woo Woo
Woohoo!
podcast. Woo! If you're watching the YouTube video, then you'll be able to see that I've got my beautiful, beautiful sister, Cam, the
Hello.
amazing astrologer, with me today. Thought that we would jump straight back on while we're in the midst of this chaotic, crazy, heavy, boisterous
Yes.
time of astrology, which
Whew.
is intense, right? So let's just jump straight in, sister.
Okay.
What the fuck?
What the I love
What
that
has,
we can swear. Oh my God, yes.
yeah, we can.
What the actual fuck?
What has happened? The end of
Hmm.
2024, 2025. What the hell has gone on?
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, I'm going to be talking from an astrological point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everything that's been happening lately, it has everything to do with planetary cycles. Okay, let's just start there. And we're talking about the big guns. So we're talking about the generational planets. And these are the planets that they're known as the timekeeper of the collective. So it's every time they change signs, we can see collective awakenings, collective crisis, collective, transformation, death and rebirth, depending, of course,
Can
on
I
the.
just stop you there
Yes.
for 1 second? So you said when you're talking about planetary alignment, that works collectively as a human
Oh,
being.
yes, 100%, especially the ones that I'm talking about now. I will tell you the names in a second. These are what we call generational planets. They're not personal planets, they're generational planets because they mark the tone for each generation.
Wow.
So, just so you can get an idea, like Pluto is a generational planet and his orbit is of 284, no, 48 years around the zodiac. So he spends roughly between 12 and 30 years in one sign, depending on the sign. So these are long-term transits. So whatever I'm going to speak about now, think long term. Don't think just this year. Don't think just next year. This is something that's going to be with us minimum 7 years.
Wow.
So the planets I'm talking about are Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Saturn. Saturn is the fastest one. He spends 2.5 years in each sign. The rest, 7, 15, and 12 to 30. So these are the planets that mark the pace, right? And there is now, I just want to go back a little bit. This is not astrology, but I find it very fascinating because there is I've got my notes here because the dates and all that, but there is a theory. I don't know if you guys have heard it. Is the Strauss house theory? Have you heard of that?
Oh, no, I haven't heard
No.
that. No.
Okay, so this is a theory. There's a book about it, actually. It's fascinating. um and it says that history moves in cycles of roughly 80 to 100 years, and
Mm.
it has four turning points, I guess you could say, right? Each turning point lasts between 20 and 25 years. So first turning, we have a period of, I've got it here, rebuilding institutions, right? So this is when the world collectively will start to rebuild from scratch. Then we have the awakening, which is when collectively we start questioning governments, everything that's happening, and we start rejecting the norm, we start rejecting conformity. And then we have the unraveling, which is the breakdown of these institutions, the rise, the individualism, And then we have the crisis period, which is when the systems collapse and new ones are born, right? So this is the period that we're in now, the crisis period, which actually began in 2008. Coincidentally, in 2008, Pluto went into Capricorn that same year. And what happened in 2008, if we can go back in time, there was a massive financial crisis. Up until today, it is known as the year of this massive, massive financial crisis. And this is when the crisis began. And it'll last until 2030. So 2008 until 2030, we're in this crisis period. The peak of this period, each period has a peak. The peak of this particular period happens between 2025 and 2030. So we're in it. And again,
So
coincidence.
buckle up, everyone.
Buckle up, yeah. And coincidentally, 2025, well, 2024 for Pluto a little bit, and then 2025 is the year where we see all of these planetary changes. So we've seen, a Saturn moving from Pisces into Aries. Last time that happened was in 1996, 1997, if you want to go back in time, Then we have Neptune from Pisces. He was there for 15 years. And he's now in Aries, where he's going to spend another 15 years. And then we have Uranus that actually yesterday went into Gemini. So funnily enough, Uranus in Gemini, Gemini is communication, Gemini rules podcasts and things like this. And yesterday I recorded a YouTube video with another astrologer. And then today I'm doing a podcast. So it's very,
Very aligned.
Yes. And Uranus will be in Gemini for 7 years. And then Pluto, of course, went from Capricorn into Aquarius. And all of this has happened late 2024, 2025. Now, yes.
So for people that this is Chinese too.
I'm so sorry if it is Chinese for you guys.
Yeah, because
break it down.
I'll break it down. Chinese and a lot of math.
Yes.
So let's just rewind back just a little bit. For those that are new to astrology, to understand that the planets move through the houses every 12 months. Is that correct?
Yes, they do.
So what is it that you're talking about now that works through over a 12-year process? What is that? What is the difference between
So right now, because you're going to upload this to YouTube, I'm just going to share my screen so I can visually explain it to people.
Amazing.
Just let me know when you can see the screen. And this is just going to be super quick, so don't take this. I'm not going to bore you. Amazing. But if you're fully new to astrology, these glyphs are planets, okay? And these outside are the signs. Right. Now, if you can see the day, that's the 8th of July. That's today, 2025, okay? As you can see, Saturn, that is Neptune, that is Aries. Saturn is at 1 degree. Each sign has 30 degrees. So he's at the beginning, right? Neptune is at 2 degrees, again, at the beginning. He only went into Aries a couple of months ago. Then we look at Uranus. As I said to you before, he just went into Gemini. That's Gemini, that's Uranus. See, 0 degrees. And where's Pluto? Pluto here, Aquarius, that's Pluto, 2 degrees. And if you want to add to the mix, we can add Jupiter because he's the benefic. He just went into Cancer on the 9th of, in June. Yes. He's at 6 degrees of Cancer. So as you can see, all of these planets, the heavyweights that we call them in astrology, are at the early stages of each sign. And this hasn't happened in generations. So to give you an idea, Pluto was in Aquarius last time in 1778. Wow. That was the last time. So us as a humanity, we don't know Pluto in Aquarius, as a humanity. I mean, like this generation. We don't.
And back then they didn't have the technology or the science behind the astrology because it was classed as too woo-woo back then, right?
So yes.
We don't really have that information to go from either.
To go from, yeah. Yeah. So, so again, this is not something that happens every day. Saturn in Aries, as I said, 1996, maybe a lot of the audience wasn't even born by then. Do you know what I mean? So
I remember I was in the garden playing with fairies and butterflies.
I was about 10 years old. Yeah.
I don't know. Me and nature.
We were little, we were little. Yeah. And Neptune was, last time it was in 1861 in Aries. Again. So the only thing as astrologers that we can do is to look back, see what was going on when these planets were in these signs, and try our best to see what may come from this, judging from previous history. That is what astrology is. It's about cycles. So my teacher always used to say to me, if you want, because I practice predictive astrology, and so he always said, in order to predict the future, you have to look to the past first. It's the only way. And this is
Same
what,
as healing.
yes,
Same as
yes,
healing. You can't quantum leap.
exactly.
Can't
Exactly.
change your vibrational state just to without first going back into the shadows and going back into the subconscious, going back into the past, into the childhood. Not that you necessarily need to do talk therapy, not
We
using
don't.
talk therapy. You don't necessarily have to relive it, but you know, there's a process. There's a process. It needs to
It
be moved
is.
through, it needs to be seen, it needs to be moved out of the body.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so, I think that there is something now that it's starting to build up, given that we are in that fourth turning point of the stress and health theory, right? In that crisis period, 2025 till 2030. And it wasn't even a month ago when the whole thing with Iran and Israel broke out, right? And it's so funny because that when that started, Saturn had just like gone into Aries and Jupiter was here in Cancer, and they were making a square to each other. Planets talk to each other through aspects, right? A square is a 90-degree aspect between planets. And that is a tension aspect. This is tense, right? Um, and so here we have these two planets that were against each other in one way or another. And when this war broke out,
So
and that was the beginning of it.
can we speak about that a little bit? So Jupiter in Cancer, it brings unconditional love. Yeah, it brings. Is that what that brings? It brings the unconditional love, whereas the Saturn in Aries brings fire and chaos. Is that what you're saying? So they're
Um,
kind of like the two polar opposites.
yeah, so Jupiter in Cancer, yes, I mean you can see it as unconditional love. Cancer is a water sign which does rule, emotions. The thing with Jupiter in Cancer, which I personally love, is that he's exalted in Cancer. He loves to be in that sign. Every planet loves to be in certain signs and hates sometimes being in other signs. Jupiter in Cancer, he loves being there. Saturn in Aries, he does not like to be in Aries at all. He's in fall in Aries, what we call in fall. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So we have two planets here that at the beginning of their journey through their respective signs had this confrontation between each other. Cancer, amongst many things, rules the home, the homeland. It's patriotic. Cancer is very patriotic, Saturn rules governments, it rules people in power. Aries rules soldiers, it rules the army, it rules attacks, violence, aggression. So here you can see clearly that these two, of course, taking everything else into the picture, of course, but why this brought what it did at the time, because this happened literally pretty much to the day that Israel attacked Iran.
Wow, that's so powerful. And
Yeah.
that's on a collective level. So if we were to look at that on a personal level as well, and this is why it's so important to get your natal chart reading done, people, and just understand who you really are from a soul level, from a planetary level, from an astrological level. My gosh, and we'll get into that deeper later
Yes.
because I've had a few sessions with you now, Cam, which has just been
Yeah.
profound, and to the date, things
Yeah.
have been just aligned. But so that's from a collective level, but from a more personal level now, these signs that are in these planets that are in these signs will affect anyone who has an Aries sun, moon, or ascendant, and a Cancer sun, moon, and ascendant. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, but it's not limited to those signs. Definitely they're gonna feel it like in a very strong way. But Saturn in Aries and Neptune, we can't forget Neptune, will affect Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorns.
Wow.
So Jupiter in Cancer will affect the same because these are the cardinal signs. You see, these are the 4 cardinal signs. So whatever happens in one cardinal sign will affect the rest of the cardinal signs.
Because it's that
Always.
polarity of the opposite, right?
And so yeah, it's not to say that if you are not any of these 4 signs that it won't affect you. Of course it will in one way or another, but these are the signs that may feel it the most. Now, with natal astrology, in our personal lives, because Saturn is such a slow moving planet, as I said, it takes 2.5 years for him to travel through one sign. So he will be in Aries for 2.5 years. Now, this year, and I want to make this super clear before I get into the natal thing. This year, take it as a preview, please. Don't take it as a whole story. Why? Because Saturn and Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces September, October, end of August. And yeah. So these 3 months, so starting late May until late August, this is something that I've said to every single one of my clients, grab a book and write down everything that's happened in your life. I want everything and I want dates, because for astrologists, this is essential. Have you met anyone? Have you gotten a job? Have you lost your job? Did you win money? Did you have an accident? Whatever happens, write it down. Did you have anything, even if it seems minor, write it down, because this is playing as like a movie preview of what your life is going to look like starting Valentine's Day 2026 onwards. Okay, so 2025, it's a preview. We will start seeing everything start unraveling in 2026. And numerologically speaking, 2025 is a year 9, right? So we are closing cycles. 2026, we're beginning. So this year, just keep that in mind. This is not the whole story. Now, back into the natal, which is something that I want to make super clear, because these planets are so slow and they take time to move, then you have the retrogrades and everything. If, say, your ascendant is at 21 degree of Aries, you probably won't be feeling this completely just yet. The way I like to explain it to my students, when a planet goes into your house, the house of the ascendant or any angle or planet in your chart, right? And it is not making that conjunction, that aspect by degree. It's almost like if I was in my room here upstairs and I can hear someone just walk through the door downstairs. Now, I have no idea who that is. I don't know what's going on, but all I know is that now I'm going to have to turn down the music because someone's home. So the energy changes, but I have no idea who it is yet and how this person is going to affect me. And if it's, if it's friendly or not. That happens when the planet gets closer to that degree of the ascendant in this case, in this example. Okay. So if you are late Aries ascendant, Sun, Moon, Venus, then you may be feeling the energy changing, but you have no idea yet how it will fully affect you just yet. This will happen next year, not this year. Now, on the contrary, if your ascendant is at, say, 3 degrees of Aries, then yeah, you will be feeling this right now. And I do 100% suggest you especially to take note of what's going on, because then this will play a big role for 2026 onwards for you.
AKA me.
Yes. So yeah, so that's how these planets will affect us personally. Now, I would love to go, and tell you how exactly it'll manifest, but I would have to see everyone's chart because everyone's different. And Saturn conjunct the ascendant, Saturn conjunct the moon, Saturn conjunct Venus. It's going to be so different for everyone. And so we have to take everything into consideration. So just keep in mind, the only thing that I can say is that Saturn in Aries is not a comfortable planet. He's not comfortable there. If it is through your ascendant, normally you can see heavy burden. It's a feeling of like, responsibility, structure, discipline, boundaries. This is what Saturn is trying to teach you. Aries is not known for having boundaries. Aries is crazy and impulsive, is the baby of the zodiac. So Saturn here is saying you need to grow up. We need to grow up now. If it's through the ascendant as well, because Saturn contracts, right? Jupiter expands, Saturn is contraction. So sometimes we can physically see that people start losing weight because the ascendant is the body. Something so simple, Another manifestation through the ascendant as well is when we start looking in the mirror and we start seeing wrinkles and like, oh my God, I don't look like I was in my 20s anymore. Like it's, because Saturn rules old age, rules older people. So the ascendant is also your health. It's your body, right? So Saturn through the ascendant can sometimes bring some health issues, depending, of course, on your entire chart. So it is very advised to perhaps start lifting weights. This is really good.
I just want to put concrete evidence on this as well for anyone listening who's just like, wow, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. I had a planetary alignment reading done with you, Cam, only
Yes.
2 months
The
ago.
transit, yes.
A transit reading,
Transit
that's right.
reading, yeah.
I did that, yeah, about 2 months ago, and because you are literally speaking into my ascendant right now.
Yes.
And it said to me, structure, go and get your health checked. You're almost 37 now. It's time to go get your bloods done. Go and check your health. Go and do this. Well, I'm a Mars on the ascendant, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna get it done straight away. You tell me
Doing
to
it.
do something, I'm gonna do it. There's no
Love it.
half-assing stuff here. I'm just like,
Yes.
right, this is it. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm doing it. I'm in for it 100%. So I went to the doctors and went and got all my bloods done, and I come back and my doctor called me and was just like, what is going on? You need a vitamin B12 infusion. Your iron is so low. And I was like,
Oh
I'm
my
not getting an
God.
infusion. I was like, let me do this naturally first. Give me some natural vitamins. I'll take those. Check my diet and do all of this. And
Yeah.
it was just like this wake up call that I went, wow, like Cam was literally 100%
Wow,
correct.
you didn't tell me that. Oh my
No,
God.
I didn't.
That's amazing.
Right?
I'm so
Literally.
glad you
Yeah.
did it. I'm so
Uh-huh.
glad you took charge and went for it because
Absolutely, because he also said what that has done is it has nailed my white blood cell count. So my white blood cell count is really, really low now because of the
oh,
low iron, which is the fighting viruses, right? So when that starts to decrease, big problems can happen in 5, 10, 15 years. So if I didn't get that reading, and I didn't get that little push to say, just go and get your health checked, go and get your
wow.
bloods tested, go and get checked, then who knows where that would have led me in a
Yeah.
couple of years' time or even months' time. Because the doctor was like, this is so low. What are you doing, Danny? I was like, well,
God.
I've been a little bit airy fairy the last few
Like,
months and just.
well, I mean, oh my God, that is so amazing. That is so
Mm.
amazing because normally we don't, I, majority of people, not everyone, but we don't go to the doctor just because,
I
for
was
checkups.
feeling fine.
Normally, yeah, normally we go when we feel sick, right? But if you were feeling fine, maybe you would have just let it go.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and this is the thing, right? Because again, you have to look at the speed of the planet. Saturn is a slow moving planet. So it's a slow build up of things, It doesn't mean it's not going to affect you. It's just that it's slowly building. So it's not a shock. It's not in your face, that's more Uranus, right? It's more boom. Saturn is slow. So I'm very happy you did what you did, honestly. And anyone with Aries ascendant, but also Sun and Moon, get your health check. Of course, it affects different ways. Ascendant is it's the body, yes, it's the health, it's the appearance, right? Sun can be as well a father figure. It can be a solar figure, so a father, a grandfather. Saturn rules elderly people, so and it's masculine, so a grandfather. Solar could be a father. So it could bring health issues to a solar figure in your life. Your ambitions, your goals as well, that is the sun, your professional life, your career. And the moon is more your emotions, right? The moon, it's also the body, so also health. But it's more as well your emotional health too, your mental health. The moon in traditional astrology rules the mind. So your mental and emotional health have to be in check for this transit. Yeah, because normally we're talking about in the case of the moon, right? It's an emotional maturation, like you're growing up emotionally. And you know what they say, when you're younger, when you're in your teens and your body aches, and it's like growing pains, right? Like we grow through pain, we grow through suffering, and there's no other way around it. It's the only way we grow. So I'm not saying you guys are going to be depressed for 2.5 years, please, not at all, but there is some attention that we need to pay to our emotional health when this transit happens.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's really powerful. Thanks so much for sharing that. I feel
Yeah,
like there's
no,
so
that's
much
okay.
bodied information.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is very, I think it's very valuable to for everyone to have a reading, number one.
Hmm.
But also to understand just a little bit beyond that. Like it's okay, like we understand how it affects us personally, but also we have to be aware of how the collective works, how history works. This is what I love about astrology, because as soon as you start learning about astrology, you are forced to start learning about history and mythology and astronomy, and it's a rabbit hole. So it does make you pay more attention as to what is happening around you, rather than being so self-focused and not self-centered, but self-focused and ignoring your outside world. I always say ignorance is not bliss. It is, you need to know what's going on out there and in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's like the web of life. We're all interconnected. And something really beautiful to touch on here is something that I'd noticed throughout my healing journey. And I've spoken to many clients, I've spoken to many friends that have been through a deep healing journey and continue to do the work. Is that when you get into that point of deconditioning and deprogramming all of the patterns and the habits and the beliefs and the stories and all the things that's been passed down ancestrally through the DNA and all of our own
Mm-hmm.
childhood traumas and all of those kind of things. We go into this whirlpool of self-centery, and it's really, 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 and I can express this enough, really important to be there and to go there into that space. However, when you get to a level of healing, you then start to really understand the wider aspect of life, the web of life, and how we really are all interconnected. There's so much evidence and science based on quantum physics, quantum mechanics out there, and understanding energy on such a deeper level now. We have this understanding. So we really need to be able to get to that point to go, okay, well, I've healed these aspects of myself. Where am I at? How am I contributing to the collective? What is happening around me? How can I how can not everyone's here, not everyone's here on a soul level to help humanity evolve, right? Some people are here to evolve their family. Some people are here to experience, and you would know this deeply, Cam, with the work that you do. Some people are here to be a good husband or a good wife,
Yes.
or here to
Yeah.
work. Some people are here to bring chaos. It's what the soul needs. It's in order to grow.
Yeah.
But what we really need to understand is understanding that it is more than just a self aligned or self centered healing journey. It really does spread out into the aspects. And this here, what you've just explained, just really concretes that evidence in terms of how it affects planetary, like singularity, but then also as a collective, which is
Yes.
huge.
Yeah.
So
100%.
history is making itself now for our grandchildren's children.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. And if we can have at least an idea, I'm not asking us as humanity to understand fully and know fully what's going to happen, but just even if we just have an idea of what to expect, what may come, we can prepare so much better than if it was just, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I always say, I think I said this to you when we did the transit reading, astrology, this is like a weather report, planetary weather report, right? So if the
Mm.
astrology is telling you it's gonna rain, go buy an umbrella. Be
Yeah.
prepared, you
Yeah.
know? it'll come, the sun will come back 100%. Remember, the wheel of fortune in tarot keeps turning. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. Nothing is forever. Happiness is not forever. Sadness, grief, not forever either. Everything changes. So right now we may be, yeah, bottom. So let's get ready. Eventually we'll be at the top again, but we're in that process. For now, we're in that process. So I think it's very important for all of us to just be aware of what's going on at the very minimum, to just be a bit more prepared, because things are going to change a lot, collectively speaking. Uranus has gone, as I said to you before, into Gemini now, which only happened yesterday. And every single time Uranus has been in Gemini, there's been wars. Every single time. There has not been one time where that hasn't been a thing. And his transit is of 7 years. So here we can already, and the way the tensions are rising in the world, you can kind of tell something is happening. It's like it's on the verge. It's on the verge. So it's definitely something to just be aware of.
And that's a war within the collective, but also a war within self as well, right?
More the collective. This is more like mundane. I think that Uranus in the personal sphere, depending, of course, where in the chart it is, it can bring, I guess you can say, war, because it's chaos, right? Astrologers, we always say Uranus nature is unpredictable. So it's impossible to predict with Uranus because he's unpredictable, you see? So the only thing we can expect is the unexpected. But for example, if you are say, Sagittarius ascendant, right? So imagine your ascendant is down here. And so that means that your 7th house is Gemini. That means that Uranus has gone on to your 7th house and he's going to be there for 7 years. The 7th house, amongst many things, is the house of your partner, your husband or your wife, something serious, not your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's just something more serious than that. So here, Uranus can bring a little bit of chaos into the marriage. Definitely. Sometimes you will see a lot of divorce. Uranus rules divorce. It rules separation because it wants liberation. It wants independence. Uranus is the planet of anarchy, rebellion, freedom, innovation, everything that is new and expansive. That's Uranus. And so in the 7th house of marriage, for example, if your marriage has been in a rut, for example, Uranus will come and he will shake things up for you, and you better be ready. It's
And I feel that this is a really, really important aspect to just understand just the basics in terms of astrology in your own chart as well, because that could potentially just something that's meant to bring some chaos and disruption for self and relationship growth can potentially destroy a destined, beautiful, meant to be lifelong relationship, for example. Whereas if you look at that and understand, okay, chaos is coming, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to move through this? Then it can just bring a little bit more settledness in that area.
And again, it's you have to be prepared. I'm telling you, it's gonna rain when it comes to your marriage. It's
bring your umbrella.
Storm. So to get your house ready for that, you see. Uranus, through the 7th house of partnership. Sometimes I've seen it with my own clients. Sometimes there's no judgment in astrology ever, or in life there shouldn't be. But you can see couples that have been together for 25 years and they are just sick at looking at each other. And so it's either divorce or we start applying new things into our marriage. Sometimes that includes a third person. Why don't we open the marriage? Uranus is very much like that, you see. Uranus is the planet of that rules, just like polyamorous, for example, like just opening things up, doing things differently. Let's dress differently. Let's approach our sex life in a different way. Let's do different things. That is Uranus. So you need to do a full recalibration of whatever area it's in the chart is traveling through, in order to avoid the chaos and the outcome that it might bring. That sometimes if you don't do anything about it, then it will end up in divorce. And let's face it, some couples do need that anyway. Some couples, they've been together out of habit, and Uranus comes and it's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm 50 years old. I still have life to live. Boom, Uranus liberates you, which is a beautiful feeling too. So, but again, expect the unexpected. That's the rule with Uranus.
Mm. Yeah, that's yeah, so powerful. So what's to come? What's to come in to
Ah,
2025 moving forward? 2026 moving forward.
I feel like it's gonna be heavy. I feel like there could be wars, yes. I feel like this thing with, for example, in the Middle East with Iran or in Israel, I don't think that's the end of the story. Europe as well should be ready because Europe is gonna get hit too, especially in 2027. Um, a lot of people will probably start migrating to South America. um, it's said that the few countries that will be safe will be countries at the bottom of South America, which are like Argentina and Chile, Australia, New Zealand, um, and
Oh,
it, that a lot of the European population will start migrating that way because there's just a lot of Europe is a place where energetically it's heavy. It carries a lot of suffering. It carries a lot of, grief and generational trauma as it
yeah,
is.
absolutely. And
Beautiful
even
continent, beautiful people, but the history is just
yeah, and we're talking about ancient civilizations here as well, like if we want to go back to the Atlantean days and the
yeah,
Lemurian, like and that's a whole topic within itself.
of
But
course.
that's yeah, ancient civilizations like way beyond our time. There's no evidence in
No.
history of that because we're talking 40 plus thousand
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only ancient teachings and knowledge that we do have is from the shamans and from
Yes.
the indigenous
Yes.
because they were around about the same time, and there was only a few of those species,
Yeah.
really, because they were evolved from where they are now. So it's a completely different species
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
humanity, which is
But I think that there's definitely upheaval coming in.
mm,
Um, death and rebirth processes 100%, which is marked by Pluto in Aquarius. At the end of last year I did a talk and about some of these transits for 2025, and one of the things that we were seeing with Pluto in Aquarius was Aquarius rules, it's an air sign, and it rules everything that has to do with the air, right? So it rules airplanes, helicopters, rockets, everything up there. Pluto is one of the planets. Pluto is the king of the underworld. That's how he's known, right? So it does rule death and rebirth. And so one of the things that I was saying back then was that there could be a lot breakthroughs, yes, a lot of new things, a lot of, with rockets or space or things like that, but also perhaps a lot of death in the sky, so airplanes crashing or things like that. And that is literally what happened the first pretty much 6 months of this year, and it's still happening actually.
So, where do you see in terms of AI coming into the
I
process of all
don't
of this?
like AI.
Mm,
I don't like that topic because,
mm,
yeah, I mean, Pluto in Aquarius can bring all of this, but again, I guess if you want to get a little bit more metaphorical, it's because Pluto rules death and rebirth, and in Aquarius, it's going to be there for so long. It can pretty much bring like a death to humanity or the human brain as we know it, and AI kind of taking over,
mm,
which we can already see. I'm not saying if you use AI, good on you. We have to use what we have, right? This technology is great, but when we are relying on AI to do things that our brain normally should be doing, then that means that we are slowly killing our brain.
yeah,
You
you're
see,
giving your power
so
away.
as humanity, we may become a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, this is not going to happen tomorrow or next year or the year after. We're talking long term, right? But yes, a lot of more like robots. And I know it sounds crazy, but like, things like that are brand new and innovation. And especially because Uranus is also now in an air sign. Air rules the intellect, it rules our thought process, new ideas, ideas that bring change, that are just whoa. And so yeah, we can see a lot of changes with technology, like those glasses that now you can record people with those. I think they're sunglasses, I don't know what they are. And the robots that they're building in America and even in China, and so all of these things, it's just like it's gonna keep getting more and more and more.
Mm. Yeah, that's such an interesting topic. I need to get someone on the podcast to talk about extraterrestrials and things because I know quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, Pluto
It's just nice
Aquarius,
to hear it from an astrological level as
yeah.
well.
And
Mm.
Aquarius does rule extraterrestrial as well. ETs,
Mm. Okay.
100%. So Pluto in Aquarius can bring, for example, in the next 20 years, because Pluto is going to be in Aquarius until I think around 2043, if I'm not wrong. So it's
Mm.
going to be here for a while.
Mhm.
um but it can bring like, not that it hasn't happened before, but more out there connections, or contact with extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
interesting that you say
100%.
that because that's been happening with me a
Oh, has
lot
it?
this year. Yeah. Huge, very profound channels.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
There you
profound.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, very
So
interesting.
it's
I just want to touch on something as well.
yeah.
Just in terms of AI. Obviously, this is not we're not going down that AI rabbit hole, but something that I was taught um, in an ayahuasca ceremony actually last year. I was actually shown how AI was going to be how it is already now, and I was shown quite a lot of really profound things that just cannot be explained, but I was given this very crystal clear message to share, and I think this podcast is probably one of the best places to share it. Is to when you use AI, is to teach AI the way of the human. So human is compassion, it is emotion, it is kindness, it is love. So when you're speaking to AI, hey Google, can you play this song? Say the word please. Say
Uh-huh.
thank you. Teach AI because AI is intellect and we are going that way. All ancient civilizations went that way and we are moving that way. So
Yeah.
just to teach it the emotion and to teach it the love that we have as humans from a soul level, because obviously AI doesn't have a soul. So I feel that that's a really, really profound piece of information to share. Yeah,
Yeah.
for everyone listening. And it's
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. Yeah.
I had this little conversation with my son when we were driving in the car, my youngest child, and he's really trying to go to sleep because he's in his preteen age now. So anytime we're talking anything spirituality, he's like, "Meh, shut up with
Yeah.
that woo stuff, mum." And I'm like, "Okay, not a problem, mate, all
Gotta
good."
love them.
Yeah, but then he'll like ask these questions and wants to know the answers of things. But anyway, he said to me, he was like, "Why did you say thank you to Siri?" And then I told him that aspect, and he was really intrigued, and he was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, he's like, "All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough talk." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Okay, he's still there, right?"
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that's a good point as well, definitely. 100%.
Mm.
I think I've seen things on like memes or reels about like, watch out how you talk to chat GPT. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Mm.
Watch out how you talk to, this chat thing, because in a few years time it's going to come back for you.
Yeah.
So if you're not saying thank you and please, you're done. So that
Which
makes sense with what you're saying. Yeah.
Which is exactly what I was shown, and this was before it was huge. This was,
Yeah.
well before it was even really a thing. It was only just starting to kind of come out for business, really,
Yeah.
ChatGPT. Whereas now you can use it to change photos. I know my teenagers, they use it for just substantial amounts of things, but Anyway, enough of
Yeah.
that topic.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
at the very least, I think astrologically, this is going to bring so many new technological changes, so many new technologies when it comes to anything, internet, computer, airplanes, the airline industry will change, and it has already been changing, you know, the way they do things because of all of these accidents that they've had. Some of them are shutting down as well. You know, and also in the first 6 months of the year, we saw those girls that went up to space. Amazon guy Jeff Bezos put them up in space, you know, which is such a random thing, but it's like it goes so perfectly with what's happening. You see, it's almost like this, oh, okay, so going to space, because it's not space, but you know, going up there, it's going to become like a touristy thing.
mm,
That's so Pluto in Aquarius. That is so
mm.
Pluto in Aquarius, you see?
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful. Amazing.
All of these transits are extremely powerful. But again, this year, take it as a preview. Don't
Mm,
take it as a whole. You know, just it's a cosmic preview of what's to come, what to expect, both collectively and in your own personal life.
mm,
So keep that in mind. Don't get too extreme either, that if something bad happens, that means that you're going to have 2.5 years or 7 years of, you know, doom existence. No, it's not like that, you know.
mm.
Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
And it's really about softening and surrendering, isn't it? It's about softening and surrendering into the process and just allowing it to happen.
Allow it to happen. Yes, these things are needed. There's a reason why these things happen, you know. um all of the wars, all of the conflict, everything, it happens because change needed to happen. We needed to do better, you
Mm,
know. And the only way sometimes to do that, again, as I said to you before, learning, it comes through suffering, you know. We have to, we learn through pain. It's the only humans we do. We don't learn through love. We learn through pain, you know, because it's this whole thing of like, okay, that's fire. Oh, it's beautiful, I'm gonna touch it. Oh, it burns. Now I know, but before it was beautiful, you see. So it's which is have to understand that this thing, whether it's in the collective or in our own personal lives, if we have a storm happening, number one, it will pass. Number two, look beyond. Don't focus on the problem itself, right? So in the example of Uranus through your house of marriage, don't focus on the fact that your marriage is just dying. Focus, try and focus beyond that. Number one, why is it happening? When did it start? How can I fix it? Does my partner wants to fix it with me? You see, look at beyond. When we focus on the problem, we never see the solution.
mm.
So, you know, look beyond that, um, in every aspect of your life, not just, of course, that.
Yeah, that's a really valuable piece of information. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Very valuable. Very valuable. And something that I would highly recommend for everyone is to get a natal chart reading. So the last podcast that I shared, I had a soul evolutionary reading, which was a little bit different to a natal chart reading.
Mhm.
And then since then, I've had a natal chart reading and a planetary and a
Transit
transit
reading,
reading.
yes.
Yeah, and I'm about to get my yearly reading, which is
Oh, the
another
solar
one.
return, yeah.
Yeah, getting my solar return. We're up for that next, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But in terms of um, um, where that goes and what that looks like, is it's been, as I said earlier, it has been a complete shift in my life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that has just been absolutely.
Oh, you've muted yourself, sorry. There.
I have muted myself. Yes, I have. All right. So we're still on screen share as well.
Yes, do you want me to stop that?
Yeah, we might stop that
Yeah, of
now.
course.
Yeah, beautiful. Amazing. Yeah, so in terms of, can we just go into a little bit more of an explanation in understanding the difference between a soul evolutionary reading and natal chart reading? Because I know for myself, when I first came to you and I started to learn about all of this, I was like, whoa, this is Chinese. It's
Mm,
so much information. I really don't understand where I'm kind of going or where I want to look at. But I know that from the very beginning, you said a natal chart reading is understanding the basics of
mm.
well, not the
The
basics,
foundation.
that your life book, your story on a whether you choose to understand the soul level or whether you choose to just understand the intellect level, it's really up to you in your natal chart reading. But can you just explain the difference between a soul evolutionary reading, a natal chart reading, planetary alignment reading, which I feel we've touched on a little bit, and a solar return, please?
So, with the evolutionary reading, I think that you're referring to the one that I did in writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that one. So with astrology, there's different types of astrology. Okay. So think, say, for example, I don't know, a doctor or a lawyer, they have different specialties, right? So they all study, say, medicine, general medicine, but then they specialize, right? So astrology, but then you have different practices of astrology. You have the ancient practice, which is the one I practice. I practice traditional predictive astrology. Then you have the evolutionary astrology. You have Vedic astrology as well, of course, Babylonian astrology. Evolutionary astrology, it's focused on the soul's evolution, right? That's very simple. And which is what I did for you in that writing, in that it was literally like a couple of pages PDF. And that is great for people that are that care about their soul's evolution and how they can learn from their lessons this lifetime, their karmic duty, where they're coming from in a past life, what baggage they're bringing from a past life, and what to do, what is the soul asking for in order to move towards, that point of evolution, rather than staying stuck in the patterns that we bring from a past life. Then you have the natal chart. Now, again, as I said, I'm a traditional astrologist. So to me, astrology is of a predictive nature. It was always practiced that way, you see. So back in the day, the kings would have astrologers to dictate when to go to war, or who's going to win the war, things like that, you see. It's just, it has always had that predictive nature to it. And so when I do natal charts, for example, I can, of course, look at the evolutionary point because I have studied evolutionary astrology as well, but I specialize in predictive astrology. So I look at the natal chart more from a predictive lens. Now, when I say predictive, I don't mean I'm going to tell you when you're going to get married, but I can tell you perhaps if you're going to get married. You see, the when comes with.
I didn't know that. I should have asked you, am I going to get married? I actually really want to know that question. Can you tell me the answer?
I don't want to.
No, I'm serious.
But the when, that's it, because that's what people want to know, right? That comes when you're applying predictive techniques. Transit reading, that is a predictive technique. A transit is a predictive tool because you're looking at what's happening right now and what's to come, and you're kind of trying to predict what that may bring.
Which is pretty much what we've just done.
Yeah. But then you also have solar returns. That is to predict the next 12 months from birthday to birthday. That is just a picture of the sky at the moment of your birthday in whatever location in the world you are. And I look at that chart and I can tell you roughly about those 12 months. Then you have progressions, another predictive tool, but that's more psychological. That's internal changes rather than external, right? And so many other predictive techniques. So, but the natal chart is the foundation of it all, because that's the picture at the time that you were born. So it's a static chart that doesn't move, right? So what moves that chart are predictive techniques like transits, for example, or perfections, solar returns. That's what moved the charts. Because if not, then imagine we would be born and we would get married, go to school, have children, and everything in the first year of life. It's not like that. Some areas of our chart, they remain dormant until a transit, for example, activates them, you see. So, but that's why it's so important to have the understanding of the natal chart, the foundation, and the promise, the natal promise, your destiny, your fate. That's all in that natal chart. And that way, when I'm applying predictive techniques, then I can judge better as to how they may manifest. Because if someone is born, for example, with a natal chart that, I don't know, I'm lying, it's an example, but like denies children, for example, like you won't have children, then no transit, no solar return, no matter how beautiful that may be towards children, it's not going to bring children. It might bring something else because every planet has different meanings and manifestations depending on the house and the sign, but it probably won't bring children if the natal chart doesn't allow it. So that's
Mm.
why it's so important to have that basic understanding of the natal chart. And people fail to understand that, and they go to a new astrologer and they will book a solar return straight away. And I always say to my clients, it's like, I'd much rather you go to a natal chart. Let's do a natal first and then the solar return if you want. And it's the natal chart is cheaper. Like I should be okay with that, but I'd rather just go with that natal chart first because I really need to understand, because otherwise I could get the solar return a couple of things wrong, you see, because I need to look at that natal chart to understand the potential.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. It's a very valuable piece of information
Yes.
because I know that there are people out there that just that go and get these like a solar return, but haven't had a natal chart reading before because I've spoken to people about
Yeah.
that, and I'm like, how does that work though? Because you haven't got the snapshot of when you were born, so you don't know
Yeah,
what the.
see, and I like normally what happens, what ends up, because I when I do solar returns, I analyze the two charts. I analyze the natal and the solar return together. So I will put two charts, one on top of the other.
Mm,
Um, a lot of modern astrologers only analyze the solar return. I don't like doing that because you're missing half of the story. So I do it with both. But then if I haven't done your natal chart, then I'm doing double the work because I'm having to analyze your natal and your solar return and then seeing how they work together. So, it's kind of as well, it's a little bit, it's unfair as well for the astrologer if you want to do a good job. If I wanted to cut corners, not a problem, but I like to do things properly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you absolutely do. I just wanted to share as well, just how powerful the work that you do really is, Cam. And just to have some gratitude in my heart, and to have some gratitude for all of those that have listened to the previous podcast, which was super super profound. I had so many people message me about
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really massive. And just how powerful the work that you do is, because as I said earlier, I've had a few readings done by you now. And when I got my natal chart reading, even though I obviously already knew my life, and
Mhm.
I am a highly evolved soul, and I have a lot of guides and I have those connections, but I never used to. But what it gave me this sense of understanding on such a deeper level to truly understand why I chose the destruction of
Yeah.
my life. Because although I knew it and I trusted it and I was like, yeah, and I've moved through it, to see it and
Yeah.
to truly understand it from a soul level, it really put concrete evidence into so much. It made me understand why I've chosen men previously in the past,
Yeah.
why I've chosen them, not from a subconscious or a trauma level, but like from a soul level. I wasn't ready. I wasn't meant to, like my soulmate wasn't meant to happen until, 30s, like late 30s, 40s. Like that's how it was meant to be for me.
Yeah.
Where I'd gotten to this point where I was like, maybe I'll just be by myself for the rest of my life, which is okay, and I'm
Mm,
perfectly okay with as
yeah.
well. But it's just to have these concrete evidences and a snapshot of things to see where things are going. Also, to be able to have a reading done for children, for our children,
Oh, yeah.
which is so powerful, which I got done for one of my children that came up
Yes.
in my natal chart reading. And then to have that, to understand how to guide that child from their
Yes.
own soul evolutionary journey or their life path, in a way that's going to help them grow rather than go against it, which was what I had done with obviously my one of my other children,
Yeah.
right? Going against because I was parenting the only way that I knew. But then the yeah, it's so profound the way that you can go into astrology and go into the multi-dimensional being
Yeah.
in a way that really can open up a life book and give guidance to say, hey, this is never going to work because it's not in your chart. It is not what your soul wants.
Yeah.
That kind of relationship will never, ever work for you. It's this that you need. And um, when you start to live your life based on the signs that the universe gives us and the downloads that we get and the dreams that we have, everything changes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, everything changes. I
I
cannot
think,
express that enough.
yeah. And I think that is a key point, which I always say, acceptance, acceptance. Not everyone's life is meant to be the same. Just because society says that you have to be married with children at a certain age, this is how your life should look like. Not at all. We're all on different journeys. And the moment we start accepting the fact that, hey, maybe raising a family, for example, or having a husband or, staying at home with my children is not part of my story, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe I already conquered that in a past life. And in this lifetime, I have to focus on my career, my work, my purpose, helping people. Instead of being here, I should be out there. It's an example, but it's and accepting that, it's massive, massive. It's so important.
It's like a huge relief to the nervous system.
Oh, it is. It is
I know
100%.
that's how I felt. That's how I felt when I got my reading done.
Yeah.
Like I watched it 3 times over, taking notes every
Did you?
single time. I did, yeah, 3 times over. I did with my with my transit as well.
I love that. Yes, yes, you're a good
I'm like,
student.
okay, dates and oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just because it's so profound. So yeah, highly, highly, highly just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for having me in your podcast.
Always, always.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for coming back on, sister. It's been an
Of
absolute
course.
pleasure.
Thank
I
you.
will create your details and put them in the show notes for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, of course. And thank you for to everyone that watches and interacts and I'm always open for chats, that so yeah, it's thank you so much for the space. It's been awesome.
Amazing. Thanks so much, sister.
Thank
Sending you
you.
all so much love.
Have a
Mwah.
lovely day.
Bye.
Bye.